Okay, I'm going to get us underway. Thank you for joining us for the regular board meeting of the Sunrise School Division Board of Trustees. It is 7:03. I'm going to call our meeting to order. And we're going to have O Canada, and please stand if you can do so. Thank you, and Sarah, that was from Springfield Collegiate. So thank you to Springfield Collegiate for their band for that. I appreciate it. We will have our treaty acknowledgement. I'm going to ask Trustee Boytson to read out our treaty acknowledgement, please.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thanks, Trustee Boytson. In the room with us tonight, we have 8 of our trustees. Trustee Rowan is the trustee that's online, but all 9 trustees are here. Are here with us. Roland. What did I say? Roland. I said Rowan. Sorry. So Trustee Boytson, Trustee Rowan, Trustee Nicol, Trustee Smith, Trustee Wilson, Trustee Dent, and Trustee Harris are here with us tonight, as well as my name is Paul Magnon. And then we have Superintendent Reed, we have Secretary Treasurer Thiessen, we have Assistant Superintendent Fielberg, and we have our Executive Secretary Sarah Scott here with us tonight, if you're listening online. So we're going to move forward. We're in adoption of our agenda. Be it resolved that the board approve the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol and seconded by Trustee Smith. Any questions to our agenda? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Chair's comments. So a reminder that if you have any questions and you're listening online, please send your questions to jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Put your name and address in the sender and your email, and we'll try to get to your question during question period later in the evening. I'm going to open up the floor to share a story. Trustees, share a story. Trustee Wilson.
On Monday, June the 2nd, I was at Pine Ridge Sand and Gravel in Oakbank, where Matt Gowan donated an F-154 truck to Lac du Bonnie Senior School. As a result of the generous donation, students will learn basic car repairs or truck repairs, which may inspire an interest in future careers in the industry.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trustee Nicol?
This is a reminder about the community picnic on Thursday at 5 o'clock. Just bring your appetite.
Trustee Nicol, you're cooking for us?
Fine?
Are you cooking?
No.
Anyone else? Anyone else share a story? Trustee Rowan?
On May 22nd, I attended the SMS band concert. In typical fashion, the spring concert was held outdoors on the school blacktop. The musicians did a great job and gave an excellent show. Springfield Music Parents Association was there as well, supporting the program with a draw and running a barbecue. It was great to see the community come together, supporting the students and the school as a whole. On May 24th, I attended the Esports Expo at Red River Polytech. There were students from around the province, and I was able to take in competitions the students took part in. Additionally, they held PD sessions for the students, teachers, and parents. I was able to sit in on a session where a student was learning about Unreal Engine for Fortnite. On Wednesday, May 28th, I attended the SCI band concert. As always, the gym was full. A highlight of the evening happened when a group of mostly grade 12 students surprised Mr. Crow. Each student spoke about how Mr. Crow had impacted them, and then they played a surprise piece they had been practicing without Mr. Crow's knowledge. It was a moving performance. And finally, on Saturday, May 31st, Oakbank Parents for Ukrainian Education walked in the Chicken Days Parade. This was a way for them to promote their program. I walked with them, handing out information sheets to families with young children. They had kids from the program walking in the parade as well. The kids danced to the music, handed out candy, bookmarks, and stickers. Lots of fun was had by all.
Thanks, Trustee Rowan. Anyone else? Oh, Mr. Fielberg.
There we go. Special thanks to a whole bunch of people that put on our third annual Unified Sporting event. We had a rain date that was supposed to be for Edward Schreier, but it happened to be on the same day that they were holding zones. So we quickly adjusted it and had it actually here, and it turned out to be a great spot to have it. We might just have it here all the time. So Lorinda Bradley, our program leader for student services, has been instrumental in getting this going and is very passionate about that. Patty Schoberg and Leah Corso here, secretarial staff, majorly involved in supporting it, as was the rest of the staff here in the building. And special shout out to Galen Rouser, Pamela Penner, and Carly Rexy, staff at Edward Schreier, who put together a team of volunteers to help. Great event, heartwarming, good stuff.
Yeah, that's always good news. Thanks for letting us know about that, Lars. That's pretty special. Anyone else? Trustee Rowan, I do want to make a comment about it's pretty special when kids get up and speak about a teacher and the teacher's not aware of, and so, you know, out to Mr. Crow, obviously he's doing something pretty special at that school with regard to the kids in the band program, for those kids in grade 12 to get up and want to go ahead and do that. So pretty impressive, and thanks for sharing that.
It was a very moving moment, and you could tell that Mr. Crow needed a moment to take it all in and to appreciate what his students had done for him.
The only share story that I'll add is that there is the second annual Powwow Showcase that's this Friday at 10 o'clock out in Parview, and if you get a chance to come on out, it's a great learning experience and quite a festival, and they're working pretty hard at it. So if you get a chance, I invite you, well, the school invites you to get out there and try to see it. If we're moving on from that, we will. So, Trevor, I'm going to let you introduce.
Yeah, and
the board is aware, every year the division endeavors to review two of its programs. The first of those presentations is this evening. Of course, we've got our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Fielberg, here, who's going to take us through the Student Services review.
Thank you. I actually think I will be under the half an hour. See how plans go. Okay, all right, we'll get the timing going here. So I've hit the high points, I believe, in the PowerPoint presentation. The entire report is included in the board documents, as well as some appendices to help understand the process. So as with all the reviews, we undertake these to see how things are going. Are there areas we can strengthen? Does this give us some possible goals moving forward? And that is indeed what we ended up with. Oh, sorry. That's the beginning. I just talked about that. It's good to go. So the process this year coincided with the Student Services Review and Report process that the province undertakes on a 3-year cycle. So the timing is perfect for this. It is a review of student services legislation, policies, expectations by the province, so it's a great match to do this. What that consisted of basically was they provide a series of rubrics, and they select a certain number of schools and a certain number of kids at those schools to review. They met to do that rubric review with myself and then with the senior admin team. And there's also a separate review that's not used for the schools, but is used for the division for a self-assessment. So there's 2 sets of rubrics. Both of those were used this year to guide what was looked at, and there's more details about that. So, as I said, it's on a 3-year cycle, so we finished one in 2021, and that was part of the review that we'll get to in a bit. And those cycles are all based on the standards for appropriate educational programming in Manitoba. Those are the guidelines for what has to be happening in Manitoba schools. If parents have a complaint or something, it usually lands on what's the expectation and are we providing appropriate programming. There are 9 areas in that document listed there. Every 3 years they pick 3 of those, so that over 3 cycles of the report and review, you end up addressing all areas of the standards for appropriate educational programming. So this year, in 2020-2021, it was policy, philosophy of inclusion, and organizational structures. This year, the school rubrics and what the school visits were based on looked at access, assessment, and professional supports. Our divisional self-assessment rubric didn't repeat those. It was actually about policy, philosophy of inclusion, and organizational structures that support inclusive education. So what's all involved with this? There's a whole pile of things that they ask for and that we provide. There's a student services grant template, which in the report is much more detailed. It asks for how do you allocate services, what do you see for trends. There's all kinds of information that I didn't include in the PowerPoint here, but it's in that document. We look at the previous student services review and report recommendations, and there were some leftover pieces from that we still need to do a little bit of work on that ended up in the findings here. They look at our website. We actually had an interesting conversation with them because they said your website is like, it's terrible on the mobile version. You can't see this, you can't see that. We're like, what are you talking about? We were all alarmed, and something weird happened with their provincial access, because it's actually fine. But we were a little bit worried, like, oh my gosh, has someone not told us that there's a major problem? And there wasn't one, so we smoothed that one over. There's a divisional student profile summary that I provide to them I've shared with you before, here's a list of things we collect from schools. So I give them the entire school division about the kids, what categories we think they fit in, a brief descriptor, what schools they're in, what their needs are, what kind of plans they have, and from that list, they pick a few kids at each school depending on the areas they're looking at. So for example, this year, one of their focus areas was access. So they were looking for examples of kids that had assistive technology. In other years, they might be focusing on students with individualized programming because of the area of the standards that they're looking at. Once we've identified the schools, they visit each school. There's a set of instructions and questions and answers that are sent to the school to prepare them. Schools get very, very worried about this. They get very stressed out about being judged and evaluated. The people from the province have historically been very good. They're very supportive. They do give us good feedback, but they're not out to point fingers and rip people apart. They listen, they understand, and they provide good feedback. So they meet with the schools, they go over the rubrics with the school teams. They will go and actually see the students that were listed. They ask for each of the students identified, like give us the student-specific plans they have. Is there a daily plan? Are there clinician reports? Is there a referral? Is there a clinician year-end report for that student? Report cards, they have IEPRs. They take all of those things for each of those students as part of their assessment of how are we doing. We additionally, in Sunrise, did that same process at our clinician meetings and at our student services meetings. We used that to expand this year to talk to all of our, not all of our staff, all of our student services related staff to see, are they seeing the same things that schools were doing, and we actually provided the province with some of that feedback as well. The divisional self-assessment rubric, that was done mostly with Lorinda and Trevor and myself, so a much smaller team, but it was really asking for feedback from divisional folks. There was a preliminary meeting of the findings with me, and then a final review meeting with the superintendent and team. So, 2 gold stars. I couldn't fit 3 on there. My impression was that they were quite impressed. One of the second bullet there kind of really hits home with me, because they said, we're giving you recommendations to strengthen existing good practices. It was almost like, we have to give you recommendations. There's not a lot, really. I saw that as a big compliment. That good things are going on. Our recommendations are how to strengthen those already good things. In terms of the rubrics, I included those in the appendices. So their position was that we're at least evident 80 to 90% of the time. It's really good to have a third party say that, because if I go and ask the school, sometimes we're super critical of ourselves and it's not accurate, and sometimes we're very complimentary of ourselves and it's not accurate. So it's really good to have that third party point of view. They really emphasize that staff work hard and are very creative, and our schools are fantastic at having students feel like they belong there. They have things to do. They commented on the number of extracurricular activities that are available for kids and the variety of extracurricular activities that are available for kids. There's a place for all the kids to fit. They commented on the connection between divisional leadership in the schools, that it's clear that we know each other and are really on friendly terms. And they, I never really thought about that, but they certainly highlighted that it sounded like a unique thing to Sunrise, that, hey, everybody knows you. It's like, well, why wouldn't they? But they highlighted that. And the schools, as I said, they really go the extra mile to have students feel as though they belong. Those are all the good things, the highlights. Again, creativity, and this has been a topic at regional meetings, provincial-wide also. All across the province, we struggle to provide full-day programming for some kids. It's it's a challenge for a variety of reasons. They identified, and we didn't hide it, some of the kids that they picked happened to be kids that were struggling greatly with. They identified that we are doing everything we can to provide as much programming as possible, and that we're super creative and thinking outside the box to do it. Something that's very important to them is that it was clear that the starting point for the education of all kids is the classroom. That we do a really good job of, it's the classroom teacher that's the starting point for education, and we support classrooms, and we try not to do a whole bunch of pulling kids out for things when it's not necessary. The recommendations, again in the report there's a lot more detail, and some of these are based on the previous recommendations from the previous review and report, because there's a little more work to do. So continue to foster teacher responsibility for appropriate educational programming. There's probably a little more we could do there. We're recognizing that at high school, maybe we need to do a little bit more work on universal design differentiated instruction to have kids taught primarily by the classroom teacher. It's difficult. We probably have some work we could do there. Increase student participation in student-specific planning. After we had this review, this was a topic at our student services meeting, and I think had they been there, they might have changed this recommendation. Because when we talked about it and the examples that were given of what people are doing, it's like, wow, I didn't know all the ways you were including students in planning. But that would be consistent with one of their other recommendations, is that we're not consistent. There's really good practices in that classroom, but maybe not in all the classrooms in that school. There's really good practices in that school, but maybe not in all the schools. So consistency was one of the recommendations. Enhance clinical collaboration to ensure the connection between assessment recommendations and implementation of plans. So I think that's a good goal for us to work on, that we strengthen that connection to make sure that the recommendations our specialists provide end up being at least tested to see if they work. Increase detail, student-specific plans, increase the consistency. I mentioned of good practices already. The number 6 is a very small piece. They found that there's some diagnostic information placed in student plans that really shouldn't be because it's public. We pretty much have already fixed that in the last couple of student services meetings. So that one just would be considered almost pretty much done already. And that pretty much is a summary of the findings. There's much more detail in the report, so if there are questions, then we can do that.
Thanks, Lars. Appreciate it. Any questions from anyone? Trustee Nichol.
It's not a question, it's a compliment. I like the presentation, but I'm more was interested in the appendix and stuff that I could read on my own and get information and digest it that way. So I like that part of the presentation, like the background information.
Anyone else? Question? So I'm not going to let you get away, Lars. You talked about something that's pretty important. You talked about consistency. So how do we get consistency?
It's the support and pressure. Support in terms of, are we ensuring that we're doing all we can to make sure schools have the message? And then the pressure just has to come in the form of, it's my job to check up. We're more and more able to do that with technology. Years ago, and I've told you about what we use Clever for, so that's not unfamiliar. But there's no other way to do it other than me saying, on this date I'm going to check this. And I'm going to give you feedback and improve it. To me, that's the short and sweet of it.
So I too, like Don said, I did like the report as to where it is. But I think that's the biggest thing that I want to know, because I think that in some of our schools and in some of our classrooms, you have some great things happening. But if I were to ask you that in our 18 schools, in our 700 classrooms, do we have it? And you're probably going to answer, no, we don't have it. And the idea is we want to get it. And so that's your work. So my next question is, so as a board, we've asked this question, and we've got I think we've had an answer from Superintendent Reed with regard to evaluations of our staff. So do your clinicians and resource teachers and counselors and people in student services, do they get evaluated, and are we on track with our evaluations?
It's an excellent thing to bring up, because I was going to add to your previous question about how can we get more consistency. I should have added to that is using our clinicians better to convey a more consistent message, enabling them to sometimes be a little more assertive in what they're doing, and also to enable the administrators to direct the clinicians more, and neither party just assuming that each other is doing what they're supposed to be doing. There has to be better communication between administrators and clinicians. To your second question about evaluation, the principals evaluate the counselors, resource teachers. The current teacher evaluation model is not a great match. We have provided them with very similar rubrics and very similar categories that are specific to student services. So we've supported them a little bit in that to have some more fitting evaluation for those roles. And the evaluation process of the clinicians, I'm very happy with the changes we've made with that. This year, part of their evaluation was sending the rubrics and categories for feedback to the administrators at the school they're in. They met with them and then gave me that information, and the discussions out of that have been very rich. And I've identified quite a few things about how we can improve communication between schools and clinicians. So I would say we've made a lot of progress in the area of clinician evaluation.
So the board would hear, and I just want to make sure that I heard, is that the schools evaluate the school personnel, and we heard from Trevor that where we were with those evaluations. And then as far as our clinicians, I'm not quite sure how I understood from you. Is that, do you evaluate them?
Yeah, I evaluate them, and we're on track. I'm just in the process of typing up their final feedback for them to sign. I've met with all of them that were scheduled, and it's going very well. Be better next year.
Thanks, Lars. Anyone else? So Lars, again, it's a very small, you know what, the report was depth. It took a lot of work, and thank you for going ahead and doing that. And thank you for giving us the information, certainly about how our schools are doing. And it's okay for our schools to be nervous when the province comes around. I'm okay with that, because I want them to be on their toes to make sure that what they're doing is working. So kudos to you, and kudos to our staff certainly is there. You want to jump in? Yeah.
I just I also want to make the comment, it would be my opinion through my observations that student services is a strength of our school division. And that would go from Lars's leadership down through our other divisional staff, to our student services teachers at our school, even to our classroom teachers who are implementing a lot of the program with the students that are in their classrooms. As Lars said, it's not perfect, and there's areas for us to grow. But it was very nice to have the province come in and truly, I think Lars maybe even undersold it a little bit. Give us compliments and a bravo for the work that's going on in our school division. They really did highlight for us that there were some very significant strengths in our practice. And so, yeah, just thanks to Lars for his leadership, and like I say, thanks down through all of our teachers in our system who are working with our most at-risk youth and the supports that they provide them. because like I say, I believe it's a strength for our division, and the province came in and said very clearly that they believe that we're in a very, very good place with student services in Sunrise.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those comments, Trevor, and thanks, Lars, for the work that you're doing. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Lars.
How's the time, Robin? On time, I think.
All right, we're going to move on. Thank you very much for that. We have our minutes from our May 20th meeting. Be it resolved, the board adopt our May 20th regular board meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Boyton, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any questions of those minutes? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. Superintendent's report, Mr. Reid.
So a couple highlights from the last couple weeks around the division. It's already been talked about. You know, the division's Unified Sports Day. Just a great, great day here at the Education Center. Lots of smiles, lots of laughs, lots of connections made between athletes, between schools. Truly was a great day. Lars already highlighted some thank yous, and I just want to kind of extend that a little bit. He said, you know, the staff at ESS brought over a great team of student volunteers, and they truly were. They were great student volunteers here for the day, so thank you to those students. And just also a thank you going to the Beausejour Co-op, who donated some items that would keep our athletes well fed and hydrated throughout the day. So lots of thank yous and a great day, and a couple of pictures there. Just our most recent SALT meeting was on May 21st, and the topics are there. That's what we covered in the day. It was a change of date. The original date was May the 14th, but we found out as the year went on that was Winnipeg was also hosting the Canadian Association of Principals Conference. And so we adjusted our SALT date because we had a significant number of principals who wanted to attend that conference, and that was a great opportunity for them to attend a national conference right here in Winnipeg and do some additional learning. And then just of note, we're taking our final SALT meeting for the year, which will be held on June 11th, and we're taking it on the road. And we're taking it out to Elma, to the River's Edge Resort, to enjoy the resort's sort of indoor-outdoor facility. They've got a great, you know, wedding/meeting space with, you know, the rollers that'll roll up on the side, so we can, you know, get some fresh air and be in some contained elements as well. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, but it'll be nice to get out into the community with our final SALT meeting for the year. Just some news and notes there on the Sunrise Leadership Cohort. Yeah, we did have between 15 and 18 aspiring leaders in Sunrise come together for 3 learning sessions based on the Manitoba School Leadership Framework. And one of the features that we did this year, and is each of our meetings, we did lean on one of our existing veteran administrators to come in and share and do some presenting with our new leaders. So thank you to Mr. Penner and Mr. Ogren and Mr. Liskey for coming in to share with the new leaders. And finally, as the report indicates there, it's springtime, end of the school year, and that comes with lots of opportunities to get out into our schools and celebrate our students' talents and you know, be part of some cool events. We've heard about several of them tonight. I'll add to the list that last week I was able to attend the Dougal Choir musical performance, which was a great afternoon in Dougal, celebrating you know, those talents. So yeah, keep an eye on school division you know, websites and newsletters, and how just opportunities for our community to get out and enjoy our students' talents at a wonderful time.
Thanks, Mr.
Thanks, Mr. Reid. Any questions for Mr. Reid? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. We have the board reporting schedule plan laid out. Thanks, Mr. Reid, for putting that there. Go ahead.
Just a couple of outstanding items that we hope to get cleaned up by the end of this year. First of all, the grade 7 and E report. I don't think that one's going to get cleaned up by the end of this year because we're waiting on data from the province. It's just we have to wait on that. I did indicate that I want to bring back the grade 9 to 12 credit attainment report in a different format. still waiting for ICT to pull the data in a different format for us. So we'll hopefully get that data and we can close that one off. And then the last one, which was supposed to be on tonight's agenda, the talent development report. I left that one a little bit late. I needed to get some information from the Arts Gate teacher. I didn't get that in time. I didn't want to put pressure on her to rush some data to me. So I'll bring that next to the next meeting. So.
Thanks, Trev. Any questions? Okay, we're going to move on. Mrs. Thiessen, your Secretary Treasurer's report.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure why my screen's kind of weird and blue, but we'll see how this goes. Oh, there we go. I did get a new computer too. So the report is attached to everybody's agenda. See how this works. Yeah. So it's all you, Sarah. You can take it off the screen. Oh, Trevor's got it. Anyways, attached to the agenda package is the Secretary Treasurer report. Things that I wanted to highlight. Transportation is busy the month of June with lots of field trips. Finance is trying to roll out a cost-efficient, effective application called PaperCut. It's on all our major photocopier, multi-functioning devices. So we launched it out to a couple of schools. We're receiving feedback. And we're kind of navigating through some of their feedback to see if it is beneficial to the division or not. There are multiple divisions, just even within Region 3, Interlake, Evergreen, and Seine River have the application on all their devices, and they found a significant cost saving. Schools have found that they're saving a lot in printing paper because there's less reprints. So we're kind of navigating and receiving feedback from the schools right now to identify if it's beneficial or not for our Sunrise schools. We've received some feedback that it's been helpful. They can see the saving in some of the setup isn't kind of functioning within the operation of their school. So we're going to see what other options we can do within the schools to see how we can better utilize it. Also, there have been an RFP issued for the uniforms. We're looking at maintenance and transportation to be two areas to focus on. We buy quite a bit based on the union contracts that we're obligated to provide clothing for these groups. And we have a really great relationship with our vendors currently. I think by issuing an RFP, we either make them honest or we can find better pricing. So we'll find out. Results will come next week. We'll do reviewing of the products that they're proposing. So see how that goes. You can scroll to the bottom. ICT. There's a lot of information there. I won't go through in great detail. But I wanted to highlight some, Trustee Wilson also highlighted that we've received a donation of 2 trucks to the Sunrise School Division. One is going to Lactabani Senior and the other one is going to SCI for their programming. I think this is a great opportunity for students to be hands-on with trucks that they can kind of bang up, and it's not going to be out of somebody's pocket. It's going to be a great learning opportunity to make some mistakes and learn from them. So that's pretty cool. And then at the end of May, there was a book fair at Beausejour Early Years. I was able to chat with some of the staff and see what learning books and books that are exciting kids right now. So that was pretty cool. Apparently the pens were the greatest hit. So that was interesting to see. And then I was able to see a little bit of a display from the grade 4 class of Madame Jensen. They read The Wizard of Oz, and they were able to do a little scene in art. So that was really cool visiting the school. That's my update.
Thanks, Jody. Any questions for Jody? Okay, we're going to move on, Jody. Thanks for doing that. Board business that we have monthly enrollment. You've got that for information. It is kind of interesting about how stable we are across the division, certainly with numbers that are there. Any questions on anybody there? Okay, our Ukrainian language program, Trev, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, just as indicated, would bring forward a report on the Ukrainian language program at our schools in Oak Bank. So I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail because I do believe we probably have some parents from the Oak Bank Parents for Ukrainian Education watching this evening because they were interested in hearing the report. So I'll go through it in a little bit more detail than I otherwise would. I know that you've got. So of course, as I've already reported to the board, I did attend the OPUE meeting back on April the 28th. And yeah, it was recognized by the parents that, you know, they felt that the program could use a boost. And, you know, to their credit, they felt that, you know, this could be the responsibility of the division, the schools themselves, and the OPUE. It could all play a role in, you know, doing this. Also evidence there was just a real tremendous source of pride in the program. That parent group is very proud of, you know, having that program in their schools. They feel very fortunate that opportunity is available to their children. And yeah, just very, very proud of that. So, so just, you know, going through the report here, just in some of the categories that I broke in, things that we probably need to be paying attention to going forward. The first one is just certainly the instructional capacity. You know, if we did want to expand the amount of time that Ukrainian is used in the language of instruction, do we have the capacity to do that? And, you know, the short answer is yes. Certainly at Oak Bank Elementary, they have a number of teachers that are teaching homerooms in the classroom that have those language skills. So they could easily increase the amount of time that they're using that language. Would be a bit of a challenge to get all the way up to 38%, which is the threshold for having that heritage bilingual program status that the province offers. And the reason being is it would probably need a Ukrainian-speaking phys ed teacher to get all the way there, or to have classroom teachers teach their own phys ed. Both of them would be posing some challenges, but certainly they do have some capacity there. Over at the middle school, there is, the middle school only currently employs one teacher that has the skills to provide Ukrainian as the language of instruction. So they could increase the time, but again, that would also come with some complications in terms of scheduling, in terms of grouping their 6s with their 7s or their 7s with their 8s. And so there's a little bit more capacity there, not as much as at the earlier school, and some timetabling complications potentially there as well. Just around the transportation of students, because I know we've talked about that, as the board has talked about that. Very difficult to determine, you know, what the impact would be on Sunrise operations, just simply because we don't know if we offered transportation, how many people would take advantage of that. However, we do need to note that our current network of buses across that region of the division does extend to all of those communities and does centralize back into the complex at some point in time. So the network actually exists. How many students would take advantage of it? That's unknown. So what a cost would be, not 100% sure. But I do believe that if we were looking at this, the impact on the division would be more logistics in terms of planning than it would actually be budgetary or financial. Simply because your network already exists, and kids from all those communities are already going to the complex, either at SCI for high school, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So the network is there. Program interest is something that we should be considering. And again, you know, sort of difficult to determine what future program interest would be, because we don't have strong connections, you know, with our sort of beyond our 4-year-olds, because we do some work with our 4-year-olds before they arrive at school through, you know, some of the screening that we do. So maybe our best indicators of future interest in the program would be looking at you know, sort of past interest in, you know, if we surveyed, you know, our parents in the English programs in Enola, Dugald, and Hazel Ridge, and I'm sorry I put OBE on there, but they would be eligible for transportation. So if we went back and surveyed, you know, the parents of Enola, Dugald, and Hazel Ridge over the last 2 to 3 years and said if transportation was available, would you have chosen the Ukrainian language program? That would help us sort of maybe gauge what future interest might be. And we may also want to reach out and talk to people who have recently left the program to see what their reasons were for that. Because that may also help us gauge, you know, what future numbers in the program might be. If we could establish, you know, current trends, what would future trends may look like. Also interesting, just the OPUE did their own survey. And sorry, there's an error in here. I said that that survey was done in the fall of 2024. It was done in the spring of 2024. So I just want to highlight it was actually more recent than I indicated in my report there. Again, parents were satisfied. You know, they wouldn't necessarily recommend, you know, any changes. So it was relatively positive in terms of the perception of the program. So that was, you know, a good thing there. So then just on to the recommendations, sharing with you. Yeah, I think that there is work that the division can do with the school and the OPUE to promote and advertise the program. And, you know, I think we should do that, you know, right out of the gate in the fall. And, you know, we've got a division principal in charge of language programs, and, you know, Mr. Gasperdi, he was also at the meeting, and I think this is something that can be delegated to him, and make sure we do as much as we can to promote awareness of the program. I think we heard that the OPUE did their part in walking in the Chicken Days parade, and so what are the other things we can do to make sure that we create awareness? I think second recommendation is the division should be making an effort to collect additional information from parents. You know, either the ones that didn't choose the program or the ones that left the program. And again, we should get this done early in the school year next year, because you may use this as a board to make a decision on providing transportation in the future, whether or not that's something that you want to do. And then, of course, the third recommendation is eventually I think the board needs to make a decision on offering transportation to the program. Again, you should be doing this early in 2025, or in the fall of 2025, in the 25-26 school year, sorry, because we're going to want to provide this to parents at registration time, which really kicks off in the end of January. And so we should, you know, do our advertising, collect our information, make a decision on transportation in advance of that kindergarten registration time in January. Whatever we decide around transportation, we do probably need to have some further consultation with the transportation department to better understand those logistical impacts that I had mentioned previously. So, thank you.
Thanks, Trevor, for this. Any comments from anyone? Trustee Boyton?
Just to confirm, so right now are the students accessing the program by schools of choice, or is it through program not offered?
It wouldn't be through programs not offered, simply because a heritage bilingual program is not one of the 4 recognized programs in the province of Manitoba. The 4 recognized programs would be the English program, the French immersion program, the Francais program, and the technical vocational programs. So when we talk about programs not offered, those are the 4 programs that all of our students in Manitoba should have the ability to access in one way, shape, or form or another. Are they accessing it under schools of choice? Honestly, in this moment, I could not answer the question if we actually make them fill out a schools of choice form. We do. Lars is nodding. So yes, so schools of choice. But I'm going to say that we don't deny anyone. No. So if they fill out schools of choice to access the program, they would be approved. I don't know. We could probably look back through our schools of choice records. I don't know how far back they go. Yeah.
Lars, you wanted to comment?
They technically could be refused schools of choice students or families apply to schools of choice for a program like that, they do get, part of their letter is, if you choose to leave the Ukrainian stream or the program or whatever we choose to call it, you would have to fill out the school of choice again. So you can't get into the school through that and then switch to English and stay there. You might, depending if the class sizes are small, but it's not a guarantee.
Trustee Rowan, Trustee Rowland, do you have a question?
Sorry, no, I'm fine, thank you.
Trustee Rowan?
Thanks for this, Trevor. I would like to start by saying that I know that a lot of the parents at OPUE are happy to see that the program is getting some conversation around what's happening there. I'd also like to make a comment as far as your program interest. You had mentioned perhaps taking OBE out of there as it's offered to OBE, but I would suggest maybe keeping it in only because I know that there are students that were initially registered for the kindergarten program this year that have since backed out because they recognized that a class was not going to be offered for the kindergarten year. So if we're gathering information, we might as well gather it all. And then I have a couple of questions here. As far as you had mentioned here that we have the capacity to increase the amount of time that Ukrainians use within the language of instruction, do we have a qualified pool of teachers that we could draw on if we needed to then increase our teachers within that program?
So when you refer to a qualified pool, do you mean teachers that already are employed by the division, or in the sense that if we needed to go out and hire new people? Or both?
I just want to make sure that if we do need to add teachers, whether that means giving the teachers we currently employ more FTE, or if we're bringing in more teachers that we're able to access the educators that the program would then need.
So I do believe currently at OBE we would be fine. The challenge would be that Ukrainian-speaking phys ed teacher. And maybe what I should clarify, because it was in a previous report, when we operate a heritage language bilingual program, the province of Manitoba indicates that the only subjects that can be taught in the heritage language are the ELA, the social studies, art, and phys ed. And so when we look at the subject table allotments, we pretty much need 3 and probably half of the phys ed. We pretty much need all 4 to get over that threshold, right? And so that's why I sort of referenced the phys ed teacher or the classroom teachers doing their own phys ed to actually get to that threshold. So I do believe in terms of an FTE at OBE we would have that. Maybe not all in the right places, but I think we have that capacity, including some part-time teachers that I think would be willing to take on more if they were provided the opportunity to actually use their skills in the language of instruction. We would not have the capacity currently at SMS, and as these positions have come up over the last couple of years in the school division, we have been able to fill them, but I wouldn't know the depth of the applicant pools off the top of my here in the moment in terms of how robust those pools were, and if we have, you know, a number of people in the province that we can draw on for these skills.
Thank you. And I just have one more question. It's not necessarily something that I need answered tonight, but if we're looking into this next year, I'm curious to know if we're offering transportation to those further out locations to use as schools of choice. Are we going to be considering late entry for students that maybe would have considered the program but weren't able to due to transportation? And like I said, I don't need an answer now, but just something that we should be considering when we're looking at this at a future date.
Anyone else? So, Mr. Reid, I see recommendations, and is it something the board would like to motion that we would want to go ahead and do that? Because a reminder, the 3 recommendations are to work with the school and the how we call them? OPUE to promote the program. The division should collect additional information, and then the division should take a look in the late fall with regard to transportation. Those are the three recommendations that are there. By us making a motion on these three recommendations, the issue is that then we are expecting a report back for us to follow up with that. So we're good about making a recommendation that we accept the superintendent's recommendations with regard to the Ukrainian language program on June the 3rd, and expect the recommendations, meaning then that we're going to look for a report in the fall. Are we good about doing that? So I'm gonna make a recommendation, make sure I don't mumble this, is that I'm going to motion that we accept the report, the superintendent's report, dated June the 3rd on the Ukrainian language program, and await the outcome of the recommendations in the fall of 2025. Okay? Okay with that? Sarah, did you get that? Okay, so the intent of the motion is that to accept the report and to await the outcome of the recommendations and get a report back in the fall of 2025. So I'm going to make that motion. I need a seconder to the motion. Seconded by Trustee Rowan. Any discussion on the motion? We're going to do this by hand, Sarah. Okay, so then all those in favor? What do you say? What do you say, Diane? Trustee Rowan?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the motion passed 9-0. Thanks, Mr. Reid, for that information, and we'll look forward to the outcome come the fall. We're going to move on to let's try this again. We're going to move on to grade 3-4. That was just everybody being so excited about the motion. That's all that was. Grade 3-4 provincial assessment data. I think this is you, Trevor.
Yeah, so just kind of jumping ahead to the summary of the report there, which is the sort of the core of the report. First, just to highlight, we were sort of surprised this year when we got our data back from the province. It came in a significantly different format, and that format involves, much less detail than we would traditionally get, and I've sort of outlined that in the first paragraph there. So unfortunately, it makes the data less useful in terms of us using it to target specific things that our students, may be missing out on. So unrelated to how the data comes back, just sort of the second paragraph of the report there, when it comes to the reading data of the report, what MEECL is trying to measure with the report is probably not the most useful things to measure. So it's not really highlighting the most important skills that we want students to possess in terms of becoming, better readers or learning how to read. The screenings that are coming, to pilot this coming fall and mandatory the year after that will actually be some good data for us to use. So all that being said, you would go back to, we've got some mixed results here. Certainly for our students in the English program, they are exceeding provincial averages for both reading and numeracy. That's great. That's consistent with sort of what we see across many of our other provincial assessments across the division. Yeah, and probably unfortunately no surprise. Not the same case for our French immersion students, but we shouldn't be alarmed by that because we highlighted that back in the fall with our grade 7 and 8 provincial student assessments for our immersion students. Which didn't make sense to us because we hear from our immersion students when they get to high school over at CPET that they do extremely well. Extremely, extremely well. We've heard that from some of our other students in our immersion programs when they get to post-secondary. They do extremely well. So we know from other pieces of data that our immersion programs are strong. So we did talk about back in the fall, we sort of thought that maybe this was a mismatch of expectations, and so that was investigated by our immersion administrators and division principal, Crystal Purdy. And yeah, we did sort of find that, our teachers have high expectations for their kids in the immersion program, which is great, and we don't want those expectations to change. But those high expectations sort of exceed what the province is actually expecting in terms of these assessments. So we need to do some work, and that work has started. Unfortunately, that work started, and after these grade 3 or 4 assessments were done in the fall. So the work that's being done in terms of getting our teacher expectations in line with provincial expectations was not done before these assessments were done, and therefore we again see divisional assessments being below provincial expectations, which again we know there's no reason for.
Questions from anyone? Trustee Boyton?
Just wondering where the Ukrainian language students fall in, because it was either English or French. Would they have been included in with the English assessment?
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Trev, for that. We'll move on. We have the DPAC feedback, and that's for information. Did you want to talk anything about it? Trustees have seen that. Go ahead.
Just very quickly, I just wanted to include this because I thought when we summarized that, the feedback that we got from parents sort of reinforced that some of the decisions and conversations that the board have had in the past, you're on the right track. And I think this feedback reinforces some of the discussions we've had over the past year, so that's all I put it in there just to highlight. So.
Yeah, agree totally. Anyone else? And again, lots of good feedback certainly from that. So I think that as a board, we've talked about trying to get next year to continue on with DPAC meetings and bringing people together. So thanks for that work from our staff and again from the trustees that are out at the DPAC meetings. Go ahead, Trustee Boyton.
Just wondering if this feedback was sent to the principals that they could include it in with their past meetings.
I would also go further is that we also have newsletters that go out in our schools. If that's something that we could get into our newsletters, the more people that we can get information to about what we're doing with DPAC, that would help as well. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we have a religious instruction bylaw, so be it resolved, the board approved the second reading of the religious instruction bylaw 382-25 for a Call-Dugald school. I need a mover and a seconder. Trustee Rowland, do you want to move this bylaw?
Sure.
Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions on the bylaw? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. We also have our third reading of our bylaw. So be it resolved, the board approved the third reading of the religious instruction bylaw 382-25 for Call-Dugald School. Trustee Rowland, do you want to motion this?
Yes, please, yes.
Thank you. And seconded by Trustee Boyton. Any questions to it? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it was approved 9-0. Thank you for doing that. We also have our school carryover request. I'm going to put it on the table and we'll ask questions if there are needed. Be it resolved that the board approve the request to carry over surplus funds for 25-26 in the amount of $8,400. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol and seconded by Trustee Boyton. Any questions to this? Go ahead, Trustee Boyton.
not a question, just a comment. I know that Richland is looking for some music equipment, and I'm just wondering if there's anything in the division that's floating around that maybe could be given to them to save them some money in this area, if there's any excess anywhere.
So I think that brings that up to a conversation that a number of trustees have talked about, is that an inventory of our music equipment. Is that something that the board would like to go ahead and see? We've discussed it, and if that's something that you can work on, that'd be great for us as well. Anyone else with regard to the carryover surplus? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Compensation disclosure report. I think that this is up. Jody, I'm going to put it on the floor, and then if you want to comment to it, great. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees receive the audited schedule of compensation of Sunrise School Division for the year ended December 31st, 2024 for information, and that will be posted on the Sunrise School Division website as per regulation. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nichol and seconded by Trustee Dent. I've asked Jody to comment on this, and then, you know what, if you have any questions, Jody can go ahead and answer them. Go ahead, Jody.
Great, thank you. I know annually we produce this report, and I don't think historically I've provided a lot of information on it. It is the Public Sector Compensation Disclosure Act, so under this act, anything over $85,000 is disclosed. But what is all included in it is not only salary, there is it's salary, retro pay, vacation payouts, and anything to do with a compensation package. So if everybody recalls, we've settled the teacher's contract. So last fall when we did the payouts, there was a lot of retro that was allocated. If you were a teacher working at the school division during the time we didn't have the contract settled, you're entitled to retro. So there are some wages here that for some folks that are higher than normal, and that's a big chunk is retro. Sometimes it's also if there's an adjustment to their wage or salary, if there was a holdback to somebody's salary, if they changed a role from say teacher to upper management, there's a holdback of their wages that are also paid out. So some of these wages, we'll see them a little bit higher, and then it'll settle out next year because there's no retro.
Jody, thanks for doing that. You're saving my bacon on something I said a little bit earlier, just to clarify with the trustees. But thanks for that explanation as to where we are. Anybody other questions for Jody? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that, and thanks for the explanation, Jody. We're now into our committee reports. Our policy committee, Trustee Rowan, is there anything from policy that you want to highlight before we get into the details?
No additions. No, we haven't met since, and the new committee will take over in the fall.
Okay. So policy number 7, be it resolved, the board accept the recommended changes to policy number 7 as suggested. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Boyton. Any comments to that from anyone? And thank you for the heads up. Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Passed 9-0. Thank you. Policy number 14, safe schools. I should have said policy number 7 was board operations. Policy number 7 is safe schools. Be it resolved that the board accept the recommended changes to policy number 14 as suggested. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Boyton. Any questions to the safe schools as identified? Trustee Boyton?
I do have an amendment to that policy that was discussed, but it was missed. I don't know if you could bring it up. It doesn't matter, either one. It's just that the 14.4 should have been crossed out, ensure that, and then capitalize the word the, because all the others were consistent.
So you're asking for...
So we removed, for all of them, we removed the words ensure that, because if you go up, it says that we would ensure that, and then each bullet, if you look at the whole, oh, sorry. It's okay. Those were the changes. So now if you go, you see how it says the superintendent must ensure that, so then we cross out all the ensures, but 14.4 was missed. If that makes sense. So if we could just make that amendment and then.
Are we okay? So are we okay about a friendly amendment because it's not changing, it's something that's in there, or do you want to vote on an amendment? Are we okay about making a friendly amendment to everyone here? Are we okay, Diane, about that, doing that?
Yes.
Okay, so I think a friendly amendment, just to go ahead and change that as to where we're good. Thank you. Is there anything else that we want to, before we vote? Thanks for that catch, Trustee Boyton. Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Can you go back to the other screen and make sure? And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. We are now the Finance Committee. Trustee Nicol, is there anything from the Finance Committee that you would like to highlight?
No, except for the next year. No, except the next Finance meeting is on June the 19th.
Okay. Thank you very much for that with Finance. I don't think that there's anything from the Finance Foundation Committee, correct? And we've already talked with the ad hoc Land Planning Committee has a motion, sorry. Be it resolved that the board approve the continuation of the ad hoc Land Planning Committee until June 16th, 2026 to allow time for to complete the 2 recommendations identified in the June 3rd, 2025 report. Moved by Trustee Rowan, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions to it? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. How could I have forgot about that? I'm so sorry. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. So we have professional development. We have the capsule conference. We have, capsule virtual attendance discussion. So Trustee Nicol, I'm going to leave it to you to talk about the discussion. Do you want me to put the motion on the floor first? Okay. Be it resolved that the board approve Trustee Nicol to attend the 2025 capsule conference virtually. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol, seconded by Trustee Rowan. Okay, Trustee Nicol, the floor is yours.
The capsule conference was sometime in March, and we are a member of that organization, so you are able to attend a conference virtually with no extra cost because that's paid for in our membership fee. Last year I did the same thing. There's about 25 different presentations, and out of the 25 I usually watch about 22 or 20, because some of them are in French, which I have difficulty in reading, so I don't read those very closely. And it is quite a bit, that's one of the reasons I don't go to the capsule conference or wherever it is, because it is quite expensive, but doing virtually is quite a bit cheaper.
Trustee Dent?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a possibility of amending the motion instead of just including Trustee Nicol. I think last year we opened it up to all trustees for a month or for a 30-day span to attend sessions if they'd wish.
Trustee Nicol, you made the motion, and I think it was Trustee Rowan you seconded. Would a friendly amendment being is just take out Trustee Nicol and just turn around and say approve trustees to attend the 2025 capsule conference? Don, would you be okay with that?
Yes.
Would you be okay with that? Okay. Good.
Sounds great.
Alicia, is that the same question you had? All right. Anyone else? Trustee Boyton?
Could we put in there that reports on the sessions that they attend would be presented maybe at a meeting in September?
So I think that anybody that that we've had expected that as people go on Trustee PD, that there are reports that are shared. So I don't think that would be out of line, that we would want to go ahead and do that. Trustee Dent?
I just think further to the amended motion, if possibly Sarah could reissue the password, because I think we have a password and a code for login to get into Capsule.
Mine was still logged in on my computer.
Okay, so that's not part of the motion. That's something that that's the mechanics of how to do it. But I'm still taking the motion. Trustee Rowan.
Before I vote on this, I'd like to know if this is something that we can financially afford if all trustees were to take part.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it'll be for, for a couple, like a day or two at the most. If it's somebody that wants to take all the courses and it takes a long time and it's over a week, there's no way. But yes, we can afford that.
So let's just make sure we're clear on this. Dawn, when you first came in, it wasn't that you were going to take a week and that you were going to go ahead and come in. Though the words are almost out here. That you were going to submit a claim for because that you're going to be a week or 10 days going ahead and doing this. You were just doing this over a short period of time.
I see usually we did 25 requests in 2 days.
So does that answer your question, Trustee Rowan?
It does answer my question, but we may be better off to amend our motion here again to then also give a maximum that trustees can claim, just so that we're covering all of our bases.
So are you wanting to amend it to say, be it resolved that the board approve trustees to attend the 2025 capsule conference virtually for a 2-day period, for a maximum of a 2-day period? Trustee Nicol, are you okay with that?
No, I don't like the days, because that means you've got to do it one day here, another day here, that's 2 days. I like doing half a day here, half a day there.
So I think that my intent with the discussion was the equivalent of 2 days, so that if anybody was going to claim for it, you're going to be able to claim the equivalent of 2 days. And I think that we've got all our heads nodding here as to where we are. And again, it's not about, so if somebody wants to do an hour for, I don't know, 7 hours a day for 14 hours, I think that everyone's fine with that. I think that your comment is, let's just not have somebody come in and say, oh, I spent 15 days on it, and I'm being facetious here, of course. But I think that we're all fair with that. So be it resolved that the board approved trustees to attend the 2025 capsule conference virtually up to a maximum of 2 days. Are we good with that, Don? It's still meeting you what you're looking for, right? Okay. We good with that? All right. So, any other further discussion? Okay, then we'll vote. and it passed 9-0. Thank you for working together to go ahead and get that done. Thanks. And again, a reminder that if you're going to go ahead and do it, there is an expectation that you're coming back and reporting on it. Yes, Trustee Nichols.
This actually, this should be refunded in June. That it should be for this budget year.
Yeah, so at this point in time, yeah, ideally, if you can do it in June. We didn't set parameters though, so ideally, if we can do our PD during the month of June, it'll be expensed in June as long as we get it before our cutoff, before the mid-July. If not, if we get your expense claim in September or, yeah, in September for June, then we're going to be reflecting it in the new fiscal period. We'll be closing our books by then. So that's what I can provide you for information.
I hear you, Don, but I think that if somebody's, I don't want to stop learning from somebody. Is that all of a sudden in July on a rainy day, somebody wants to get on a computer and go ahead and do that? And I get it is that, you know what, we want to, but learning, I think learning is good. And if somebody wants to spend some time on a, whether it's a rainy day or a sunny day in July or August, and do some learning, let's think about that for sure. We've got to give each other, if you want to do some learning and sit in front of a computer to do this, hey, kudos to you. Because part of it is you are coming back to give us a report on what you're learning. So thanks for that. Okay. So then 9.2 is the CSBA Congress, a reminder, and thanks for considering I wrote all this stuff on here. Thanks for Sarah for putting that down for everybody for the Congress that's at the Delta. No summary report, board correspondence, nice to know information. Thanks for putting all that stuff in there, Sarah, for us to go ahead and take a look at. And it's great to see what our kids are doing. Upcoming meetings, June the 17th and then August the 26th. That sounds odd, eh? June the 17th and then August the 26th. 14, Jody, do we have any questions from the public?
Checking at the conference for CSBA, so I haven't been on top of it. No, yeah, there's no updates or no email with questions.
Okay, thank you. A reminder that of the part that we have on here about the MSBA correspondence. Thanks, Sarah, for putting that on there. With regard to the information from MSBA, does anybody want to comment on that? Trustee Boyton?
I had brought it up once before that they're looking for local voices, local choices, information to highlight something in your division to show that, it seems to have autonomy because, different things work in certain divisions and other things don't. And I think I had mentioned at that time that maybe we could highlight our Arts Week program, which is envied by a lot of divisions, and it's such a great program.
So how about that I'll work with Trevor about us putting some, two of those kind of things, the Unified Sports Day and Arts Speak for us to go ahead and share. I think there's probably one other thing that we might want to look at, and that's Dugald. Call it for me, the Dugald. There you go. See, you guys are getting it. There we go. The Dugald Esports. Again, there's a number of things that are very good, certainly around our division. Keep going. She's found a way now to stop Paul talking and just keep her microphone on. Yeah, everyone's going to be on their buttons all the time. All right, thank you very much for that. That is very good. Trustee Harris, we need to move back into the camera.
There will be no motion later. We have one now.
You may have.
We may have.
you may have one motion later. We've got one discussion left to have in camera that I think one of the trustees was potentially interested in a motion coming out of that. And so,
Okay, so we are going to have potential further motions, so we'll wait to do them all together. So we're going to go back into in-camera and then we'll come out of it. Fair enough? Okay, thank you.
Do we have one more motion? Oh.
So you'll need to rejoin the regular
We'll have to
meeting.
vote. Are we voting?
Yeah, we have one more vote.
Oh, one more vote?
So we're back from in-camera, and we do have a motion that's from in-camera. And the motion reads, be it resolved that the board extend the contract of the current Director of Human Resources as recommended by the Superintendent. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nichols, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any comments to that? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote.
I'm not in, back in.
Oh,
Pardon me?
take your time, Don.
This is regular?
Yeah, that's regular. And then,
All right, so that passed 9-0. Thanks for going ahead and doing that. All right. So I think that, thank you for doing that, and thank you for getting through this. I agree. And, you know, 10-2, nice work. Nice work, Mr. Harris, for getting us through in camera. So we're adjourned, correct?
I can shut down?
We can sit down.
All right.
We're all out.
You're sure?
Sure, if I can get
Okay.
them all down.